BDS Marketing presents the HypeHour, hosted by Andrew Catapano and Kelly Campbell, featuring guests Sean Ludic and Jonathan Margolis. Today's topic, the journey back to retail. Let's get started. Here are your hosts.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. We are happy you've joined us today as we stream live from the Hive, powered by BDS Marketing. I am your host, Andrew Catapano, SVP of Marketing and Digital Strategies at BDS. And with me today is my co-host, social media maven, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube extraordinaire, Senior Marketing Manager at BDS, and quite possibly the most positive person on the face of God's green earth, Miss Kelly Campbell. Hello, Kelly. How are you?
Hello. Welcome. We are so excited to have everybody today. So excited to be here.
Surprise, surprise. Kelly's excited. Kelly, listen, let's just start off quite simply. You absolutely are one of the most positive people I have ever met. I mean, you're always smiling. I love the shiplap background. That's not even a faked background image. It's like you broadcast from a pottery barn, for heaven's sake. Beautiful, positive. How do you do it? I mean, in this day and age of social distancing and lacks of human connections, tell us how you stay so positive.
Well, the shiplap definitely keeps me company while we're at home. I know we're all streaming live from home today, which we're also very excited to be able to do in this day and age. I think one of my biggest things about staying positive through all of this is just finding one really great win throughout your day, making a note of that, and just pulling out all the good wins throughout the day. Just one thing. That's all you need to stay positive throughout the day.
Love it. All right. Listen, what is the HypeHour? What is the HypeHour, and why are we wearing hats, and why are we here? I promise you all those questions and more will be answered. But let's start out. What is the HypeHour? It is a set of digital-first, transformative, video-powered solutions, one of which is live streaming, brought to you exclusively by the great BDS. We are happy to bring them. Kelly and I are working on the amazing team that has powered the HypeHour, has brought it into existence. And we are so excited to talk about those video first strategies, but not today. Today, we are talking about the journey back to retail as part of the HypeHour, which hopefully, ambitious as this seems, we're going to try to get on regularly and talk about some of these innovative new strategies brought to you by the HypeHour, where we can come on, talk to industry experts, talk about what is hot in retail strategies right now, how we're pivoting, how we're looking at different things through the different lens of brands and retailers and agency life. And that's all the great stuff that the HypeHour will be about. And more importantly, the HypeHour, which we're trying to do once a month, but we will have another episode in 2 weeks where we will dive deeper into the video first strategies that really did birth the entire HypeHour. We're here to educate. We're here to inform. We're here to share knowledge, product experiences. And I am proud to show you the start of the studio here in Columbus. We have 3 live streaming studios that are interconnected. And as soon as we all get back to work and back in the office, we'll be proud to present the 3 interconnected studios in Columbus, Ohio, the Ohio State, Irvine, California, which Kelly will be in charge of, and then the lovely Jonathan Margolis in New York, New York. Isn't that right, Kelly? We're excited about all of that.
We're so excited. So excited to be launching.
And today we are using our live stream to talk about the journey back to retail. And as our customers return back to the stores, the new normal, Kelly, we've got some exciting guests to kick off this series. I'm really happy to have them. Tell me a little about the guests that are going to be on the show today.
Yeah, we're so excited. We have Sean Ludic here today. We also have Jonathan Margolis. Sean is a seasoned executive with a proven track record of building successful go-to-market teams and end-to-end omni-channel sales and marketing infrastructures and solutions. He's actually a board member of BDS and was most recently an executive at Microsoft. So today we're really excited to get his perspective on the journey back to retail and what that can mean for brands and retailers today. And then Jonathan, he's the SVP of Experiential at BDS, and he leads our experiential division based in New York City. And he was an early pioneer of experiential marketing in that space and has over 20 years of experience in non-traditional marketing tactics. And he actually co-authored the book, Guerrilla Marketing for Dummies. So we actually have a book author here today.
Fantastic. Kelly, before we jump in and you're going to tell us about the rules of engagement on the HypeHour, you on the TikTok? I know you're the social media maven here at BDS. I have to tell you, my wife got me into the TikTok challenge or something. We were doing the where you climb over the individual. The partner has to climb in and out and see if they can get it. Two things happen as a result of that, Kelly. One thing my wife said, immediately take a shower. And the second thing was I bought 2 knee braces off of Amazon. That's how that challenge. So unfortunately, that's what happened to me. But tell us a little bit about the rules of engagement here on this social stream and what the audience can expect.
Well, we're not doing a TikTok challenge here, thankfully. So that's
thankfully.
But one way that you can actually be part of the conversation if you're listening in and watching today, you can actually join our roundtable too if you would like. So go ahead, comment in the feed. If you have a question or you just want to know something, put it in the comments. We'd be happy to answer it towards the end of the stream. If you have to leave HypeHour for some reason to finish with the rest of your day or really just get your real happy hour on, don't worry because we're going to be following up with this stream at a later point, so you won't miss a thing. And I think that's it for our rules and our setup, right?
Let's dive right in, Kelly. Thank you. We'll see you back at the end of the show.
Sounds good.
All right, we've got our first guest, Sean Ludic. Sean, before we start, and I give you the first question, just to set the frame of reference for everybody on this show, we know that states are starting to open back up, right? We know that over the next 90 days or whatever, as we start to look at this journey back to retail, customers will see a lot of different kind of buying behaviors or even behaviors as they reapproach their brands and retailers that they love, whether it be cautiousness, whether it be optimism, whether it be ready to engage. I think a lot of people who are listening to this, and maybe everybody listening to this right now, they want to know what retail strategies will win, how, and why, right? And that's really why we're here today. And I think that when we talk about that, I think what's really important in these buzzwords we've heard and is what is this new normal, right? And what should they expect as we go through these kind of this next journey, but this opening of retail and the journey back to this set of new normal. But we've heard a lot about this new normal. I got to hear from you, Sean. What do you think that really means? I mean, define that for us.
Good. Hey, well, first of all, very happy to be here and being part of the first HypeHour. It's kind of exciting, so really appreciate it. And to everybody that's listening, first, hope you're all safe. And second, on behalf of BDS and all of our employees, just want to thank you all very much for your support and everything that you have shown with us the last period during this COVID-19. So thank you for that, and very happy to be here. Andrew, as we think about this next new normal, and let's think about the things that we know today. What do we know today? We know that in the US, we've seen the highest unemployment rate we have seen in decades, exceeding 30 million. We think about the 2020 GDP forecast is at a minus 6.2% in Q2, although there's hope of it rebounding by 4 points at the end of the year. More importantly, consumer confidence has plunged 27%, the lowest we've seen in consumer confidence in 6 years. I read about a survey that said only 4% of consumers say that they will actually go into a mall in the next month. 24% would probably wait another 6 months before they go back into a mall. And we've seen things like sales of apparel down 52%, furniture down 27% in March and in April, as we see, it could get worse. So we are very, very concerned, and people are worried. And as you can see on the screen right now, the consumer spending is extremely volatile. But what's been very interesting, Andrew, as I've looked at this, is that the influence of consumer spending is being driven by the news and what people are hearing and consuming on the news. So that is kind of a new thing for us, I think, more than ever, as this COVID-19 has happened. So if you ask me, like, what is my opinion on what the next normal is? And again, as you can see on the screen, I have a few thoughts, and I'm not going to speak to all of these that you see on the screen, but a couple of things that jump out to me, which is extremely interesting from a generalist point of view, is this virtual experience economy, which is changing the landscape of retail. And although virtual experiences were kind of a status thing, it's now becoming really a more relevant everyday thing, which drives the need for digital transformation at a high priority and a high rate for most companies. So if I think about retail, what does this next new normal for retail really means? And if you can go, as you can see on the screen, a couple of things that jump out here as well for me. One, hygiene transparency. I think this is something that we all know is going to be, in fact, be a consumer indicator. Before I walk into a store, I want to know that this store is being cleaned and is doing well. This all delivery economy and the seamless connected shopping, the introduction of virtual sales assistants, live streaming is going to become such a big deal. Just in China alone, live streaming drives $62 billion of social economy or social revenue. So these are kind of the new retail norms that I'm seeing happening for us as we start to return to retail.
Well, Sean, listen, first of all, you always outdo me with the hats, and I got to stop for a second because you are wearing one of my favorite outfits that I've seen you wearing, and it's only the first time since we've started talking, since COVID actually took place, that I've actually seen you wear the same hat twice. But I think you did that as a favor to me. That is a fantastic outfit you have on, my friend, and you know what I want for Christmas. So fantastic. As we go through it, though, and for those of you playing at home, that is the Roger Federer collection, is it not? You are a tennis player, correct?
Correct.
And I think a fun fact about you is, I did not know this, your wife is a tennis pro. Do I have that right?
She's not a tennis pro. She's a very good tennis player.
She beats you every time, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. All right, Sean, coming off those, you've mentioned a couple of things. You've talked about kind of, that what customers will expect as far as the tactical, as far as displays being clean and environments being clean, and then maybe some of the non-tactical strategic things as, video and some other stuff. But specifically, what challenges do you think brands should be prepared for as retail starts to open up?
Sure. I mean, let's state the obvious, and I mentioned it earlier. Safety and cleanliness is going to be paramount. Ways and means of how we need to boost consumer confidence to get them off the couch and back into the store, I think that's going to be a high priority for us. And then also the influence that the media is having on our spend and on people buying things, as well as what the federal and the local governments are saying. So we have to pay attention to all of those factors, I think, as we return to retail. But also, something else we should be thinking about as we start doing this, and also something very interesting around some research that has been done, is that if we can go to the slide, we see 1 in 3 consumers are actually punishing brands that did not respond well to the coronavirus or COVID-19. So 33% of people agree that if I don't believe you as a brand are doing the right thing, I'm going to second guess coming into your store or come to shop with you. So this was very, very interesting statistic. And another one was that brands' response to this actual epidemic or pandemic will influence my future purpose or future purchase. So very interesting to think about how you as a company have responded and positioned yourselves in the eyes of the public and consumers on your response to COVID-19, which I thought was very interesting.
Sean, spot on. And I actually, we were just having that discussion yesterday, Kelly and I, and the social team, of what we're seeing out in the social space. And I look forward to maybe doing a deep dive with you on that specific topic in short order, because I do believe, we love brands that have a social component to them, that have a social responsibility component, that have a community component, that we feel do good, right? But I think more than ever, you make an unbelievable point. Our response, our brand and retail response to the COVID, are we protecting our consumers? Are we doing the right thing? Are we responding correctly? There is this social media that is happening, that we are seeing, that they're actually almost, I hate to use the word, boycotting brands that they don't feel like are being responsive enough. So absolutely interesting point. Sean, I know we're running out of time for you, but what can we learn? You're a worldly guy. Love the accent. So many things I love about you, Sean. I love your outfits. I love the accent. It's a full picture for me. But what can we learn as the worldly guy that you are from the other countries? What can we learn or that are in the recovery phase of this pandemic? And what are the key takeaways that you believe we should know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's two countries that really stand out for me, and China being one that was really that where they've really come back and started getting back to normal. And these are kind of statistics you see on the screen of the impact they felt on their day-to-day life, and you can see some big shifts in things like online health consultation and purchasing cleaning equipment and things like this, and social commerce obviously has really risen. Yeah, that was kind of the impact. But if I think about lessons that we can learn from China as their response to sort of a pandemic, for me, when I know China pretty well, is you think about contactless shopping. Contactless shopping is already a mainstream thing in China. They have one of the most sophisticated networks of mobile payments anywhere in the world. They have this seamless transition to omnipresence, which is this amalgamation of online and offline coming together. They drive experiences this way. They're doing such a great job. They are a very mobile-first driven economy, and with a huge impact of social. So this mobile-first social economy is huge. I think we could learn a lot from China as we come out of this pandemic in the US. And then for me, I looked at some of the stuff that is happening in the UK, which was kind of interesting. And this piece of research I found of what people are telling us they're going to do when they get out of quarantine or get out of this lockdown. And what was interesting is couch shopping. And I sort of put a mark around it there. I call it couch shopping, but this home and DIY shopping is going to be a big thing, a new norm. I think people are going to be so used to consuming and shopping online first before they go into store. So I think this was kind of interesting for me when I looked at two other countries that are kind of going through the same thing.
Sean, I know we're running out of time before I have to bring in Jonathan. Can you give me real quick as we kind of wrap up and stay with us, because I need you to come back on the end for some digital questions that I have. But in your opinion, shotgun me some ideas or advice you have for companies as they begin to think about reopening.
Yeah, great. Look, I hope the audience has picked up some good lessons or some good ideas from some of the stuff that I've shared. But, a couple of other things, if I think about the path forward, I mean, we have to rethink or redefine the purpose of the store. We have to rapidly digitize. I mean, there's just no question in the digital transformation that has to happen, has to occur with everything and anything that we do. And the shift of our sales mix as well is going to be very important. We have to look after our people. We have to, safety is going to be paramount for our teams. And if I think from a leader point of view, from a leadership point of view, what are the kind of sort of 8 things that I think we should be doing from a leadership point of view? And You see it on the screen there. I'm not going to repeat it, but purposeful for me, I love that is the number one. Is and that's what I loved about Microsoft when I worked at MyScript. They're a very purpose-driven company. An idea that I have for you guys when you think about being purpose-driven, like when you start opening up for retail again, you set up every sale that you do, you set up maybe a portion of the sale goes towards a fund that funds medical equipment and things like that for the future. So being very purposeful and inspiring, I think will be very good.
Well, Sean, those are two things that you are, purposeful and inspiring. And, I appreciate you not only as a leader, but as someone I've come to call as a friend. So thank you for your time. Stick with us, and we'll see you in a little bit at the end of the digital, okay? For the digital. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. My next guest is going to be why BDS is going to regret giving Andrew Catapano a live platform. See, I had my boss, and now I have my partner.
How could I follow Sean? That's not fair.
Very,
Andrew.
Very different conversation, my friend. Watch out. All right.
It's all right. Sean's on mute. So we're good.
My good friend and partner on the experiential side, Jonathan Margolis. And before I actually get him talking, I will tee up. So everyone listening on this call, and I'm going to really call Jonathan out in the sense of this is a guy whose entire model is based on human interactions, right? So is based on experiences. Is it based on how do we get that connection to a brand and a retailer to the consumer? So of anybody who's got something to say and is anybody who could answer some tough questions for me, it is Jonathan Margolis, SVP of Experiential. And I will tell you, one heck of a guy, and hailing from my background, which is New York, but spending time in the Hamptons. Jonathan, before we start, I'm going to put you on the hot seat right now about this book that you've written. And you literally wrote the book on guerrilla marketing strategies, which apparently is required reading at some of the better institutions in America. And somebody had to actually, it was required reading at a course for her. She didn't know it, interviewed, and suddenly is working for you. And you made her do what?
I made her read the book all over again. to the whole company. Because I'm not sure she read it the first time.
Or she got it, because if she did, she would have, maybe not, right. But here she is, and she's a fantastic person. Let's jump right into it. I know we only got 10 minutes left. I got that from the production room here. But guys, we're going to stay on a little bit and make sure we get through this. If you can hang on with us, we knew we might be a little bit long. We want to get through a lot of this. We are going to continue. And if you could stay on, we'd love to have you stay on. So, Jonathan, we are going to jump right in. And I'm going to put you right at odds here. Why is the in-person experience still important for brands?
So look, we've always said, I know we're tight on time. I'm going to talk a little fast. We always said when it comes to promoting a product, one of the benefits of experiential is that it gives consumers the chance to touch it, to try it, to even taste it. So all these other mediums, as great as they are, they don't offer that. So, as an agency right now, we're asking ourselves, how do we safely engage the consumer? To Sean's point, safety is priority, because I think once people feel safe and confident in returning, they will crave these types of experiences. And as I'm talking to colleagues, we just need to take a different approach to how we look at experiences, both within retail as well as what we do on the street and other venues.
Well, Jonathan, we're personal friends. We talk all the time. We exchange ideas, both personal and professional. I've got to ask it, man. How will social distancing reshape the way shoppers interact and engage moving forward? I mean, it is. We talk about the experience still needing to be connection, but then we have social distancing. So, how is it going to impact?
So, I think we're seeing it already, right? You go to a drugstore, you go to a supermarket, they figured out pretty quickly how to pivot in order to provide that safe experience for the consumer. So things like one-directional aisles or markers 6 feet apart, or heading up to the cashier, there's a glass partition between you and the cashier. And even something thoughtful now about letting seniors shop an hour earlier. And retailers are sending emails out. Yeah, they're sending emails out, newsletters outlining their plans. And I think we're going to continue to see even more measures put into place as more stores open and as more people come back to shop.
What's that journey going to look like for the new customers? I mean, we've talked about it in hyperboles, and we say what can, we've said what the strategy might be, but what is that journey really going to look like for the new customer?
And that's what we're talking about all day in the office. So right now, I think we're still figuring it out. I think first and foremost, like everyone knows, is safety. And then we want to supply the best possible experience for the consumer, and keeping those same values that you talked about from the very beginning. I mean, to us, it's about keeping things educational and entertaining, right? Those are the two key factors to an experience. You want to learn something and you want to enjoy the process. So even with these new guidelines in place, I do think we can find ways of launching new products, providing demos, and ultimately driving sales. I mean, things like more space between the brand rep and the consumer, or cleaning things more and making sure the consumer sees that we're cleaning those things. Connecting with consumers online. And I don't mean online digital, we'll get to that. I mean online getting into the store. That's now a captive audience that we never had before. Adding safety signage, and to Sean's point also, that pro-social initiative, like benefits for first responders and frontline workers. And again, I think the more we do it, the more we see what works and the more we see what makes sense.
Jonathan, you raised that point earlier, and I want to go back to it because I want to hear, our audience wants to ideate. This is their chance to hear from the experts of literally, Jonathan, what would I do? You brought up that thing, and I was like, man, we don't want to benefit or seem like we're being opportunistic from situations, but you brought up the thing of saying, listen, we can engage people that are in lines waiting now outside the store. That's a captive audience we didn't have.
Right.
Stuff like that. What else you got for me? Because that one is, I didn't even think about that one.
We picked that up, basically from the food trucks that we do. We had people waiting online as they get their free food. And we said, hey, they're waiting there. Now, sometimes we have a screen, running content, but there's nothing wrong with having a brand ambassador walk up to them and perhaps sign them up for something, or enter a sweepstakes, or demo a product, or things like that. So I think, people are using this time now, Andrew, to reassess what they've been doing in the past, how they've been doing it, and in the end, changing things, which we hope for the better. Because I think in the end, as long as we can successfully deliver that message in a safe way, the consumer will actually appreciate it and come to expect it.
Unbelievable. And Jonathan, before I bring Sean back in, because we're going to segue into digital. I know we're running out of time, but I think it's important. How are you doing in New York, man? I know you live in the city, you work in this city. I think you're in the Hamptons today. What's going on out there? You doing okay?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, we are. We watch our governor briefings, and we stay in touch on Zoom, and everyone's hanging in there, working remotely like you guys, and we just can't wait to get back.
Well, listen, man, I think about you a lot, and I was born and raised in New York, so it's close to my heart. But stay safe, my friend, okay? Hang on, I'm going to bring Sean back, though, real quick, and we're going to talk a little bit of digital. All right. Sean, we just had Jonathan kind of run us through a little bit of the experiential. You ran us through, obviously, the in-store experience, something close to my heart, which I know that, obviously I'm biased about. We're going to talk about some innovative strategies in the next live stream of what we can do, digital transformation. But, as we have social distancing, as we have this new consumer journey, the new normal, we know we've got to work on some digital transformative strategies, and we know we've got to embrace these capabilities moving forward. Let's start with Jonathan. How are you using digital, the digital space, to foster retail experience and reignite your customers' journey in shopping? And Sean, I'm going to have the same question back to you as soon as Jonathan answers.
So look, for us, live and digital, that was always a plan. For anyone else, I think the situation simply accelerated it. You had no choice. You've got to go virtual. You've got to go digital. Countless ways we can use digital in the path to purchase. I'll rattle off a few that we were talking about. Creating a microsite, which is either a separate landing page or a page on the current site where there can be an FAQ section. What is the store doing to provide that safe, clean environment? And then maybe some mobile incentives, like a digital prize wheel that you can redeem in store. And everything, to Sean's point, touchless. It's on your phone. You're pressing it. You don't need anything to do when you're there. And then as consumers are walking down the street, we can send them like geo-targeted tweets, right? Letting them know that the store around the corner, hey, it's open now for business. Come on in. And click here for some know before you go messaging, which is what we like to provide in advance to let them know the store hours, or the seniors can go, an hour earlier, or when you get to the store, be prepared for A, B, and C. And I think just some examples, but there is obviously so much more.
That I love. I mean, now we talked about that, man. We could spend a whole time frame talking about know before you go. I don't know if that's trademarked. If it's not, we need to get somebody on that. I don't know if, but know before you go, I think is fantastic. Sean, same question to you. How are you embracing digital in this new customer journey?
Yeah, I don't want to steal the thunder for the next Hype Hour, but HypeHour is going to be very key. But it comes down to a few things. We have to boost consumer confidence again. How do we get the people off their couch, feeling safe and secure to come into store? And it starts with virtualization of what we do today. And how do we find that seamless shopping experience, or that connected seamless shopping experience? And it starts with a simple, let's call it a virtual sales rep that is talking to you online like we are talking now. But that rep could be actually standing inside the store, and the customer is seeing this person in the store and is getting a live demo of a product. There's some exciting innovation happening around this. Live streaming is just another good example of this. So I don't want to steal too much of the thunder, Andrew, for next week, but we have to figure out ways to get people from their couch now back into the store. And it starts with the URL experience. It starts with the consumption of your online experience. And how do we start infusing some of that humanity back into online, that it's not just about a bot or anything. It has that humanity element that we all love and trust. And people like to buy from people. We know that. So I think that's going to be a key thing for retailers and companies to think about.
I appreciate you not taking all the thunder for next week for the Hive, but you and I and the team have been working diligently on those new video first strategies that are going to create that connection. Gentlemen, we did have a question earlier when Sean was talking. I think it's kind of a pointed question. And it's actually I can't believe the production room sent it from a standpoint that it might be a dangerous question, but it's a question nonetheless. So I'll ask it and then we'll go from there. But Sean, you may be in the best position to answer this, but I'd love to hear, Jonathan, maybe from your perspective too, with live events. But with the direct question is, with consumers not wanting to go into stores because of apprehension that the store may not be clean, and this comes along of know before you go, coming into contact with others. Can we assume, and that's a tough word. They wrote the word that. Can we predict, can we assume, can we think, is it debatable that big retailers may not make it in the long run? They're going to have more of an uphill battle. That's a question. I'm going to start to answer that because that's a tough question, but I will tell you, pivot and adapt. We can't predict the future. But I will tell you that there will be a definitive customer journey, and it will start with apprehension. Then it will get into a little bit more of optimism. Then we will get back. We're Americans. We're resilient. Sometimes we have short memories, but at the end of the day, that is the life cycle. Will big retailers make it because they can't pivot to the first phase? I say absolutely they will. But the job is on them to do some of the stuff that Sean had talked about. Will they be responsible in their approach? Will they adapt in their approach? I think the fundamentals stay the same, but to assume they won't exist, that would be a bold statement that I am not willing to support. Sean, your response?
Yeah. So, I'm not going to predict the future anyway, but I will say this. I will predict retailers going nowhere. Brick and mortars are here to stay. There's no doubt in my mind. I think retailers will survive this, but do they have to start reimagining what that is? Do they have to adapt and have more of an entrepreneurial mindset to this? Do they have to drive more better experiences? Yes, and yes. We have to think of this URL to IRL strategy in real life strategy. And there's lots of ways you can start building that confidence again, like getting people off their couch, wanting to come back into store. And I think BDS has a whole bunch of solutions to be able to do that. And I know, Jonathan, you had one where you talked about the seal. Why don't you talk a bit about the seal?
You're absolutely right. Is that we talked about, either in an official or unofficial capacity, is letting consumers know that the retailer is prepared for you to come back and shop in a safe and clean environment. And,
Exactly.
we can basically go around and approach retailers, and it doesn't need to be governed by anybody political. It can just say, look, here are the things that we're doing. And we have some guidelines in place. I'll also compare it to my world of live events. I mean, there are so many benefits of live events. Live events are not going to go away, but we're going to adapt, and we're going to just find ways of doing them differently. I think it's the same thing about an in-store experience. You just can't compare it, and we're going to find ways to make it work.
Well, great responses, and I'm remembering one of my favorite quotes, and being through some of my COVID calories that I've taken in. But there's one of my favorite quotes from the movie Goodfellas was, "Paulie moved slow because Paulie didn't have to move for anybody." Now, the bigger you are, the harder it is to move. We know that, right? Whether it be big events, whether it be big retailers, but the time is now, and you will have to move. Right? Whether you're a Titanic or whether you're a nimble boutique, you will have to pivot. You will have to move. And the ones that can adapt to that quicker and be more innovative, they'll win. It's as simple as that. So, having said that, guys, before I let you go and wrap this up, is there any key takeaway that you say, guys, at the end of the day, the journey back to retail, I'd love to just say this. This is what I believe I want to close with, and this is what I want the audience to think about and remember as they leave this first stream. Jonathan, we'll start with you.
I'll just leave it at this, is just to be open to change, knowing that it's not only necessary at this point, but for the better, right? I read somewhere it might not be the same, but it will be better. From innovation comes chaos. So I do think we can come out of this and just find a more efficient way of doing the things that we're doing.
Sean?
Yeah, I think if there's one thing or two things, I'm going to say two things, is this rapid adoption of digital transformation and driving this virtual experience economy, I think is going to be pivotal in the recovery of what we need to do to get back to business. So I think and again, there's so many other opinions and solutions out there, and we shared a few with you today, but we're in a good position now to really start rethinking, reimagining on the way people want to go and shop and buy. And I think that the digital transformation and this virtualization is an exciting new area. And what COVID-19 has done for us is really just accelerated that need for us to just adopt quicker, faster, this technology.
Well said, sir. Jonathan and Sean, it has been my absolute pleasure to have you as my guests on the first live stream from the Hive. And I wish you guys well. Please be safe in other parts of the country. Guys, I have learned a ton from, and I wouldn't have two people that I would work beside more than you two. So thank you for you being you. Please stay safe, and maybe we'll see you next time on the Hive.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Problem. All right. Kelly, how'd we do?
That was amazing. I learned so much. I hope everybody else did too. That was great conversation. Thank you so much for leading the way, Andrew. We got lots of great questions. We're super excited to talk more about this subject later, and with our follow-ups on some more hype hours coming soon.
Well, I think that, to wrap this up, Kelly, Sean said it best at the end there, and I want to take a second to tell people, listen, we're live, right? And we literally just had 2 people, 3 people that you're not seeing just jump in and say, let's do this. Let's innovate. Let's get out there. So piggybacking off what Sean said is the quicker people can start to do things like this, So I'll tell you a quick story that'll take a second. But my first job out of law school was working for an individual who taught me the importance of making mistakes, and he taught me the importance of trying something and failing, because through that attempt and potentially through that failure is the only way to innovate. It is the only way. So I am so proud to have leadership and people that are willing to do that. And I know there's an entire team of professionals at BDS that's not even on this call that they would have loved to be here, and they are in that same position. And Kelly, even you, from all the stuff you've learned, but I tell people all the time, there must be a horn under that hat, because you are an absolute unicorn. And I could not have had more fun with the guests doing this and the people doing this and the great team at BDS. If you need any more information about, kind of what we do and how we can help, obviously reach out to anybody. But Kelly, tell us a little bit about where we're going to be in 2 weeks and what we're going to talk about, because digital is something I am extremely passionate about. And I didn't even get to talk about it that much today. Next time, though, tell us about it.
Well, it was great to have everybody on board for today. We're so excited about all of these different subjects that we're going to be bringing out through our Hype Hours coming soon. So next, in 2 weeks, we're planning on doing another Hype Hour. We'll be talking about digital transformation. I know we brought up a little bit of that on today's Hype Hour, but we've got more for you coming soon, which is really exciting. And, what that means for businesses, and some cool video first solutions that we've built to bring your brand front and center with customers and consumers. So stay tuned for more information on that to come. We're super excited to bring that out to everybody. But I do love all of the stories that have come out from today, even getting to know some of our guests on a personal note. It's great. It's our BDS way of doing things, right?
Absolutely. Fix the plane while it's in the air sometimes, and I absolutely love it. So these are uncharted times, and I am proud to be part of it and be part of a team that is willing to take the journey with whatever it takes. And we hope all the brands and retailers out there feel the same way. We will see you in 2 weeks as we do a deeper dive. Do not miss that one. If you want to learn about real digital first strategies that you can implement today, tomorrow, in the future, that will be the one you don't want to miss, and we're very excited to bring them to you directly from the Hive. With that, Kelly, the social distancing has kept us apart, but I look forward to seeing you soon in Irvine. It has been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks.